I'll be honest with you. I thought the ending of Volume 2 was mid. After the masterpiece finale of Volume 1, the twists, the fights, the zangwill reveal, I was expecting something equally explosive. And when I didn't get that, I felt disappointed. But here's the thing. I was wrong. And it took one comment, just one, to change my perspective on that. When I finished Volume 2, I felt like the plot just didn't have that oomph I was really looking for. Now, I want to be really clear. There were plenty of really, really cool moments. Before I continue on, I just want to say spoilers till the end of Volume 2. So if you haven't read the ending of Volume 2, please, please, please click off now. I really don't want to spoil it for you. Now, continuing. There were plenty of really, really cool moments. The angel from the Nighthawks, the fight with Mr. A, in zangwill versus Mr. Azek. Hell, Azek's pants falling down. Just some really, really cool and fun moments I can think of right off the top of my head. But nothing felt quite as personal as the captain dying. Hell, Klein dying. I didn't even know what the hell was happening at the ending of Volume 1. Compared to that, Volume 2 just felt so much more tame. So when I finished Volume 2, my feeling was that as a whole, Volume 2 was better than Volume 1. Partially because it was a lot longer and it had a lot more time to flesh out. The world just felt a lot more understandable. But the ending of Volume 2 felt lackluster compared to the ending of Volume 1. And from the community, I thought that was a pretty common feedback. I thought perspective. But then I read this comment which talked about how there might be some cultural divides because in China, Volume 2 ending was actually considered one of the favorites. Now, I want to be really, really clear. I have no idea how the Chinese audience at large feels about this. I'm just taking this gentleman at his word.
Pinwheels! Pinwheels in my head! Voices!
Continuing, ending of Volume 2 perfectly displayed the lives of the underclass, the poor, the dock worker. And that was something that clicked for me. Because on one hand, I applaud this novel for having such an in-depth, well-developed world. And then on the other, I don't place any value on characters unless they're attached to Klein. The hypocrisy, it was so obvious as soon as I read that. Volume 2 isn't about Klein's victory or loss. It's about how much the world loses when it refuses to change. And that stopped me in my tracks, because suddenly it wasn't about the plot or shocking twists. It was about consequences. Volume 2 is a political tragedy, not in a thematic way, but in a structural sense. Klein solved the mystery. He did everything right, and yet the poor are still oppressed. The church still keeps the truths hidden, and the nobles keep their power. They continue their plots in the darkness, and they place all their blame on one prince and execute him in the background while shirking any responsibility, feigning ignorance as if they knew nothing at all. The ending hurts, not because it fails, but because it succeeds in showing us how a broken system where good men vanish and evil quietly wins. The poor lost a battle they didn't even know was being fought. An estimated 60,000 people died in the Backland smog for nothing, for a demoness of despair to partially digest her potion. What a sick joke. And hell, even the demoness of despair didn't get anything of value in the end because she was instantaneously erased by the angel of the Evernight Church, making those lives that were lost ever more meaningless. Klein fleeing Backland isn't a triumph, it's an exile. He finally came to realize just how small a fish he is. He uncovered really dark truths, but he can't share them with anyone. He gains power, but at what cost? In the end, he leaves, not victorious, but haunted. It's not a fantasy climax. It's a commentary on how deep the rot goes. Klein is once again reminded that he has come a really, really long way, but he is nothing when compared to the big fish of this world. Despite all his planning, all his divination, he stood no chance, because those he was fighting against didn't even consider him an ant in their plans. He was virtually of zero consequences until the churches stepped in. He was at a complete loss. He leaves Backland, once again coming to the realization that he needs to get stronger. At the ending of Volume 1, he realized that he can't help himself until he gets stronger. At the end of Volume 2, he realizes he can't help anyone until he gets stronger. Despite his good intentions, his good heart, a mere mid-sequencer is cannon fodder when the domain is of the gods and of the angels. Volume 2 nails, quietly, that in this world, and hell, the real world for that matter, change is slow, painful, and often comes after the masses have paid a heavy price without ever even knowing why. Now, I don't want to get political, that's not the point, but it's simply the truth that humans are really reluctant to change unless something forces us to. We spent so long with Old Kohler, learning his story, finally seeing him realize that there might be some light in the future, not an ever-expanding darkness. We spent so much time with Liz, Daisy, and Freya, watching them make the slow but important move from a really small, really crappy house in the East Borough to a slightly better, still kind of crappy house in a better part of the East Borough. That might feel like a small change, but it was massive for them. And all of it was taken away in an instant. Cuttlefish spent so long giving faces to 3 out of the 60,000 people who died. I was looking at the volume so narrowly. I was simply thinking about Klein, not the world as a whole. Because like Klein, we're distant, we're removed from the world. For Klein, it's because he is not of this world, and for us, because we're simply readers. And once I shed that coat, let's call it, the ending became so much better. Volume 1 introduced us to Klein. Volume 2 introduced us to the world around Klein. It isn't lackluster, it's mature, it's real. It makes you feel how overwhelming the system really is. How even the people we saw as incredibly powerful can be swallowed by it. Because at the end of the day, true power hides in the shadows. True power isn't loud and bright. It's quiet and it waits its moments. So yeah, I was wrong about Volume 2. It's not weaker than Volume 1. It's just quieter. And that's on purpose. It trades spectacle for consequence, revelation for reflection. The more I sit with it, the more I think about it, the more I find the brilliance that was hidden within. Did you feel the same when you finished Volume 2? Did you only appreciate it after reading more? Or were you one of the few people who got it immediately? Unless you're Chinese, apparently. Let me know in the comments, and shout out again to the viewer who dropped that perspective-shifting take. And a special thank you to all my members. I appreciate all of you so damn much. And an extra special thank you to Ramiro for helping me edit the script. Dude, you're the actual GOAT. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join me when we dive into Volume 3, when things start getting really weird. Until then, stay mysterious. Thanks, guys.